feel it in my blood. It's time for the battle. I feel the rain coming down from the heavens above. Dark feeling from within taking over.
I was not expecting that song. Hi. Hi, Internet. It's me, MisterRadon. It's been a while, and I want to apologize to those of you that don't follow me on Facebook or know. Right after last week's showcase stream, I wasn't feeling well, and I just kind of let it play out for a couple days and saw a doctor on Monday. And so I've got bronchitis right now, so if I become a hacking, coughing mess at any point during tonight's stream... I also wasn't expecting this soulful piano. Case in point, I apologize. I'm going to do my best to mute myself when it happens, and I've got a big pile of drugs next to me to help me deal with those symptoms. But it is Thursday, and that means it is showcase. God damn it, this piano. It is showcase night, and this week we are covering 10 games for the Nintendo 64 that maybe you might have missed because you picked the PlayStation. Oh my god, what is no, okay, you know what? Nope. Stop. Yeah, so the N64 was definitely kind of the second banana of the 5th generation consoles. Still very respectable in its own right. Obviously, everyone knows Mario. They know GoldenEye, Banjo-Kazooie, all that good stuff. But tonight, what I got for you is 10 games that maybe you didn't get a chance to play because you were too busy playing GoldenEye for 6 years. That happens. So we're gonna go through that. I got a bottle of Crystal Pepsi I'm about to crack into, so we can go full 90s, even though this was a little, pre N64 by a few years. And I'm going to give you guys a phrase at some point tonight, which you will use in the chat at a later point tonight, and I will pick someone who uses that phrase during that block to choose the topic for next week's showcase. It can be a console, it can be a genre, it can be a developer, whatever you want. Come up with something real good. You want to see 10 games fall under that umbrella. One lucky winner will get a chance to program that. But without further ado, let's go ahead and get started on the N64 for the evening. What's up, Ronnie? Another Capybara. What's up, Bumble Gamer? I'm gonna get some of this Crystal Pepsi. Woo! Yeah, anyways, we're going to be playing on actual hardware for the most part tonight. Import block we're going to do on emulators, so there's going to be some glitches and things like that, and I'll get more into that when we get there. But our first game of the evening is a beaut, in my opinion. Hang on, there's a weird artifact on the screen. That's really strange. Why is it doing that? Fuck it. All right, maybe it's because flash memory is a thing. Nope, it's just going to do that. Cool, whatever. How are you guys doing? How's your week been? So we just saw two logos you don't see very often on the N64. One of those being Enix, the other being Treasure. This is Mischief Makers. And it's kind of like a anime parody sort of game. It has some really intense input mechanics if you want 100% it. But what really makes this game stand out is that it's a 2D game. And unfortunately, like the PlayStation, the N64 suffered more than the PlayStation did, in that both systems were very, very good at representing 2D graphics. This looks really good, right? But the general market consensus at the time was like, it's got to be 3D. Like, if we can do 3D, it's got to be 3D. So, unfortunately, a lot of games like this didn't get a chance to exist or be localized because people thought that the only thing people wanted was 3D stuff. But Mischief Makers is definitely a standout on the system. And I'm going to show you guys what this game's all about here in a second. I'm probably going to try and skip these cutscenes because Nope, I can't. Alright, so basically we got this scientist and a robot. He's kind of a lecherous pervert. And there's these weird, like, shy guy looking dudes called Clancers. And they're gonna kidnap our professor friend here. This game has a weird sense of humor and a lot of weird dialogue. What's up, Wursel? I don't know how to feel about this Crystal Pepsi, because it honestly just tastes like Pepsi to me. Like a weird Pepsi where the flavor immediately is out of your mouth. Like when it's on my tongue, I taste Pepsi, and when I swallow it, there's no aftertaste whatsoever. Which is kind of nice, because Pepsi leaves a really filmy aftertaste. So it's nice, but also not what I remember Crystal Pepsi being. Alright, so we're going to start our first stage here, Meet Marina, stage 1-1. It's got a really, really weird story. Like, this game's story has always kind of made me feel like there's a lot missing to it, but at the same time, there isn't much there. So I am the Marina, the Ultra Intergalactic Cybot G, and I'm also being racist right now. Alright, so this is one of the unique games. I'm rocking lime green today to match my shirt. This is one of the few games in the N64 that you can control with the control pad, and I actually recommend it because to 100% this game, there's a lot of time attacking going on, and it is a treasure game, so it is very precise time attacking that will really put your thumbs to the test. And you can use the C buttons to dash, but you get a little bit more momentum if you actually use the D-pad to give yourself a directional boost. And you grab things, and you shake them. And that's your form of attack, is grabbing and shaking. I think there's about 40-some levels in this game. And it has a really interesting mechanic with the ending that I think is really cool. Where on every stage there is a gold gem that you can collect. Yeah, bomb goes here. Nope. I want to throw that bomb. There we go. Yeah, it takes a long time to get all gold in this game, Wursel, absolutely. But the cool thing is that the gold gems are optional, but the ending, when you beat the game, the length of the ending depends on how many gold gems you get. So it'll show you a scene, and then it'll have like checkpoints, and every time you hit a checkpoint, it'll spend one of your gold gems until you run out, at which point it will just sort of cut the ending short, and you can learn more and more from the ending by collecting more gold gems. So I have this Kalina copycat version of me. But yeah, not a lot of 2D platformers on the N64. Especially not in America, and so Mischief Makers is a standout in my opinion. As it is both a 2D platformer and a lot of fun, and really challenging. So if I were talking to all the villagers here, they would be all telling me like what a big jerk I am because I've been harassing them when it was really my imposter. But I'm just gonna kind of speed through this because it is the style of gameplay that you know, your first time through, definitely go and like talk to all the people. They've got a lot of interesting things to say. But the game encourages you to be very quick if you can. Oh yeah, I bet it's impossible to play on a 360 pad. Definitely. It's hard enough to play on an N64 controller. Like I said, this game will wreck your thumbs. It will wreck your thumbs if you're trying to 100% it. If you're just playing it to reach the end and you don't care about how many gold gems you find or what your time attack score is, you can get by without it being too bad. Alright, we're gonna shake these white balls. Yeah, I think this is a game that a lot of people forget about another capybara. Like, and it's a shame because it is a good game. But definitely, probably, you know, too weird to ever get mainstream critical attention. Yeah, and Treasure did a lot of stuff on the not a lot of stuff on the N64, but enough stuff on the N64 that if you were just looking for great games on this system, you could look strictly to Treasure. Bangai-O, which is, you know, kind of a cult Dreamcast classic, was originally an N64 game, and it has a very limited print run, much like the English version of the Dreamcast Bangai-O. But Treasure knew how to get some results out of the system, and I think it really shows in their games. We may see more from Treasure later on tonight. Spikeland Theme Park. Those guys have cool pompadours. Alright, so now we're gonna start taking damage. Oops. Hey, I'm gonna throw you. Is that cool? Cool. Oh, I didn't mean to do that. Alright, I really should try and get at least one gold gem. They range in difficulty. They're not all super hard to get. But there are certainly some that take far more effort than others. Wurzel's gotten all gold on this game, so he'll know that if I mention the track and field event stages, specifically the 100-meter dash, getting the gold gem on that level is probably the worst one. Probably the single worst gold gem in the game. But it'll give you a rank at the end of every stage and tell you your current time. You can beat your times on each of the levels. And you can also pull up a record that will show you your time for each stage and your total time at the bottom. So it's a really good, I think, intro to speedrunning game because there's a lot of technical movement without a whole... I don't think there's really any like super game-breaking glitches. I could be wrong. Yeah, he remembers. Wurzel remembers. But you know, it teaches you to really maximize your movement, and you can compare scores with friends very easily. You know, segments and total time. Get in that house, boy. Boy, get in your house. And it's one of those games where every stage has like a different objective for the most part, so the gameplay stays very fresh. Despite having sort of simple mechanics and complex end game, rather, not so much end game, that's not what I want to say, but you know, there's not a lot that Marina can do. She can grab things, she can shake, she can dump, she can jump, she can dash, and she can roll. But you have to put those skills to use in difficult ways. Alright. There we go. Oops. And I blew it. You blew it right on. Yeah, the bird guy is the third main boss fight. Freudian Radon poop slip. Well, Ronnie Treasure makes a lot of great games. Games that you may enjoy. Oh, this level's a lot of fun. Alright, see, this is where it gets weird. This guy just starts like, yeah, fucking shake me! Woo! But this level's a lot of fun. It's very, very easy. You basically just dash as fast as you can. There's a couple parts where you have to, I think, like, duck. But for the most part, it's just fast, fast dashing. Oh, there we go. You have 3 life bars in this game. You start with 1, and then as you collect the different colored gems, those fill up a double and triple sized life bar. So that's what those red and blue circles under my life signify. We did it. Warming up. We got this penis worm thing. This is our first sort of boss fight. There's our gold gem. I'll throw a flower at you. Sorry. Gunstar Heroes is an absolute classic. Guardian Heroes, I enjoyed playing on the Xbox 360. They really kind of like upped the multiplayer capabilities on that one. I'm trying to think of like really my favorite treasure games. Of course, Ikaruga is a classic. Alright, this is not... You know what? This guy is beating my tuchus. Spike him on the ground. Am I forgetting to do something? I don't remember this fight being this long. There we go. Yeah, Gunstar Superheroes is not as good. It's still decent, but it's a big step down from the original. Bangai-O, if you get a chance to play that on the Dreamcast or the N64, is a really fun game with just a ton of bullets in it, but not like a bullet hell game, because you're the one producing most of the bullets. McDonald's Treasure Land Adventure on the Genesis is actually really good. Alright, this is just like a quick little fight where you beat up these bullies, more jump in, and just keep beating them up. Thanks, buddy. Yeah, we did it so fast. We get all the gems. Ronnie's been playing GTA 5. Alright, we're almost done with the first world here. We'll probably change games after that. Now we get a gun. The gun is kind of interesting because it auto fires, and you can shake it to get like different shot effects. So I shake it and I get this three-way. Just getting beat up over here. Don't mind me. Yeah. Alright, this should be our first sort of serious boss fight. It shows off I get that sky effect in this stage. We see some 3D objects going background to foreground, much like, you know, Yoshi's Island or Donkey Kong Country 3. This is a fact that was very popular in 2D platformers at the time. And I'm just getting pummeled. The 3 rules of robotics do not. She's not a robot, she's a Cybot. But there you go, that's the first stage of Mischief Makers. It's a simple game that's sort of hiding a really deep and involved game beneath it. It's something that you can pick up and get the basics on very quickly, but to actually apply them to the level that the game wants you to in order to 100% it can take a lot of practice and refining. But it's definitely a game that shows off what the N64 could have done if more developers had been confident in 2D games as opposed to making everything 3D. 1 second. I need to cough. Alright. Our second game of the night is one that I know that Wursel and Ronnie probably know pretty well. This is actually one of my favorite N64 games. I think that would surprise a lot of people because just looking at it or hearing the name doesn't exactly instill a ton of confidence in your average consumer, but I think this was a big surprise, and to me is one of the sort of most unsung games on the system. And mine is not working very properly right now, but it'll load in a second here. I got rubbing alcohol if I need it. Come on. I don't want to have to get out the rubbing alcohol, but I'll do it. I will do it. Alright, if it doesn't boot this time, it doesn't look like it's going to. I will be right back while I get some Q-tips.
Americans, I don't understand you. Always working, all the time, busy.
Yeah, LA Noire is still going for $2 at GameStop, which blows my mind because I really like that game. And considering how much money it cost to make, the fact that it's going for $2 now is pretty unbelievable. But, c'est la vie. This is actually the number one reason why I tend not to stream on my actual hardware. Aside from not really having the best capture equipment for it, is just having to deal with random fails and things like that. Like, I hardly ever use my actual NES anymore because I'm just terrified of grinding a game all day and then bumping into the side of it with a feather and having it crash. Alright. On to game number 2. A lot of name recognition here. Oh, did I have my N64 on the whole time? There we go. It's Doom 64. And I rented this game because N64 owners back in the day, we didn't have a whole lot to choose from, and so we rented damn near everything that came out. And it's kind of weird to have a remake of Doom come out in, like, what, 97? You'd think that it's like, oh, well, that's just so late. But it is a very dark game. You guys can already see that. I'm going to have to go in. And it's pitiful what the gamma options are here, because I'm going to crank. Are they already cranked? Or do I have to crank them myself? The controls in this game aren't great, and it is very, very dark. But it's a very atmospheric game compared to original Doom. And it's got some new weapons and some new monsters, demons, what have you. Did I turn the brightness all the way down or all the way up? Beastman is here. What's up, Beastman? Yeah, the N64 is kind of a renter's paradise, I think. Oh, no, okay. This is the default brightness right here. Yeah. So it can be a very spooky game, but you can't see diddly squat. But yeah, it's got really spooky atmosphere, really spooky sound. I need to remember what my controls are here. This is another one that I tend to play using the D-pad. Nope, that's not the... what's my open door button? There's the map. There we go. So it can be a little awkward to play this game using the D-pad, but... And the controls are editable. They're flexible enough that you can kind of tweak them to your liking. But, yeah, this is a really haunting, sort of chilling take on the Doom universe. Very different from the original Doom. In a lot of ways, it reminds me more of Quake than anything. But I think most people skip this game because they saw Doom on the box and were like, oh, I've already played that game, 50 times. Even in the mid-90s, by that point, everyone had played it to death. But this game is a wholly new experience with a lot more to offer. It can be cheap in some spots. That's another problem with this game, is that there's some like cheap deaths and whatnot. But at its core, it's still very much Doom gameplay. You kill the demons, you get the keys. See, this is level 1, and they're already throwing these pinkies at me. Like, if you didn't play Doom 64 because you just expected another port of Doom, boy, have I got news for you. It is not that. It is super dark, Jason, and that is with max brightness in-game. Welcome to Doom 64. This game was best played on a TV with adequate brightness controls. So you turn the game up, you turn the game brightness up as high as you can, and then you sort of tweak the television brightness to match. Yeah, they were porting Doom 1 and 2 to everything, and so checking out Doom 64 actually meant getting a new Doom game, which is really cool. So, John and I were working on a project way back in the day that I would really like to resume at some point, where we were going to do the 30 best N64 games, sort of in retrospect. Like the games that if you're going to start an N64 collection, you need to have. And I was surprised, happily so, because what we did is we did our own lists independently, and then we combined them and found the commonalities. And both he and I were extremely high on this game, because it's underrated but really good. And so I was happily surprised to see that he liked it as much as I did. Because again, I think it's a game that a lot of people sort of, when you think of N64 first-person shooters, you're thinking of Perfect Dark and GoldenEye and Turok. Even like Turok came out before this, and I think Turok is a much more notorious N64 first-person shooter. But Doom 64, in my opinion, is really good and worth a look. Yep, all you missed is Mischief Makers. This is game number 2 of the evening. Pardon the map usage here. I have the worst sense of direction in first-person shooters. especially in older ones like Doom or Wolfenstein, and so I get turned around very, very, very easily. Oh look, a super health guy. John H. Super Health. The man in the blue orb face. There's a lot of dynamic lighting in this game too, which it really impressed me. You know, like, the sprite work is not the best. It's very choppy. It almost looks like an old Primus video or something, which has its own charm to it. But what the game lacks in its sort of monster sprites, the dynamic lighting is so, so good. And it's a shame that the game is so dark, but at the same time it helps you appreciate the lighting effects that were used in this game. And there's the first stage. UK troublemakers. We'll probably attempt stage 2. Stage 2 is usually where you hit your first cheap death. We're known as Big Brown Beaver the game. Yep. This game uses a password saving system or the N64 controller pack, but it uses them sort of the same way. So whereas in Doom for the PC, you can, save however you want. And I told it I didn't want to make a note on my pack, so it's just giving me the password right now. In Doom 64, you kind of just have to play the game a level at a time. So you can save your game, but it's just going to save the level you're on, as I recall, which is the same thing that the password system does. So you've got to be able to do the levels in one go, which can be challenging. Alright, so this is another room that is just like impossibly dark, but it's got, again, cool lighting effects. And I got the mega armor. And I can go over here and shoot this guy. I can barely see where I'm going. And that's the nice thing about getting a Berserk, is that for like a second you're like, oh, okay. I know. It's almost a little easier to play this game with the map on and just sort of turn it off when you hear monster sounds. But I agree, Ronnie. Doom 64 is criminally underrated. It's by no means a perfect game, but it is one of the more unique N64 first-person shooters, which is funny because I think most people didn't play this game because they were expecting more of the same with all the other Doom ports. But my understanding is that there are mods for Doom, for PC Doom, that make it play like Doom 64. God, this part sucks. Right away, the game's pulling some bullshit. I got this key that disappeared. You gotta wait for it to spawn. I don't remember what my strafe button is. Is that it? Oh, my shoulder buttons are strafing. Okay. Alright, this is probably going to be really difficult to do with my current control setup. Alright, that'll work. We can do that. This is the first part where I think a lot of people get stuck in this game. There's a lot of strange puzzles that you wouldn't expect a Doom game to throw at you, that this game does. So, like, for example, I lowered that pedestal which had a blue key on it, and then when I went to touch it, it disappeared and reappeared on these platforms over here. There we go. Yeah, the switch part is not great. Alright. Whoa! What's up, buddy? Alright, the ceiling is about to crush me. Saturn Memories is here. Yeah. Oh, yep, here we go. This is hot Death Town right here. Yeah. Also, I just remembered that I had a big pile of Q-tips in my lap. But that's the first... I think there's like 20-some levels to this game. Like 22, 23. So it's a fully fleshed out experience, and it can take some time to beat. And the levels get pretty tricky and challenging. But that's Doom 64. I think that's all I really need to show you guys of that. Doom 64 is a better Doom 3 than Doom 3 was. I think that's true. I think I would agree with that. You guys want to move on to the next game? You guys ready for game number 3? Or do you want me to die at Doom some more? Also, Saturn, I gave you a follow on Twitch. I don't know if you saw. Yeah, Kenji Eno did make a game for blind people on Saturn. I think it's one of 2 games I know off the top of my head that theoretically a blind person could play. The other being Clax on the Atari Lynx. What does do it mean? Does do it mean Doom, or does do it mean change games? I don't remember. I don't remember what I said. Going to Rift Tracks tonight. Very nice, very nice. Oh, Crystal Pepsi. I do like that the label is like that janky 90s label. Change games. Alright. Alright. Change games. This is another game that I think a lot of people missed out on because at the time the name didn't really mean much. But I'm a fan of the series, and so I think this game is really cool. It's all good. Just want to give you a follow because I love you. What's up, Bean? We're on game number 3. All you've missed is Mischief Makers and Doom 64. So this is Ridge Racer 64, and if you're watching this intro, like, this doesn't look like an N64 game, right? Like, I don't know if it's just me. But like as I said, like, leading into this, I'm actually a huge Ridge Racer fan. It's one of my favorite racing series. And Ridge Racer 64 is sort of a late era 64 game. And it's kind of an odd duck because it's a remake-ish of the first Ridge Racer. But it was not made by Namco. Namco actually gave the license over to Nintendo Software Technologies to make their own Ridge Racer on the N64. And so Nintendo knew how to get the system to do this right. And the end result is a game that controls very well and runs at a very good frame rate. It's got the same kind of slippery controls that you would expect from a Ridge Racer, which is exactly what I want. It's got drifting. Again, exactly what I want. And it's a really long and challenging game. If you try and beat this game, you're constantly unlocking cars and tracks and higher difficulties, and it can be really tough to actually get a first place time or a first place finish on even the easiest course without a little bit of practice. It's no F-Zero X in terms of frame rate or sense of speed, but the N64 has a lot of racing games on it, and a lot of them are kind of subpar and didn't age well. And Ridge Racer 64 is by no means like the definitive racing game of the era, but it's interesting to see the N64 tackle something that the PlayStation did. Like, even the time frame on these games is literally like 5 or 6 years apart. So it's an interesting sort of reimagining of a game that helped the PlayStation gain its original notoriety. And it still has the trademark, like, electronic music. The slippery controls and the drifting are, of course, a must. And there's a good number of tracks, and like I said, a lot of cars to unlock. It's just nice to have a good arcadey racer that isn't full go-karts with items or, you know, Top Gear simulation racing game. So I'm not having a bad race, and I'm barely in third. Alright, that may be my chance to take the lead. Commence attack. Alright, Wurstel, have a good Rift Tracks. Thank you for the well wishes. We will see you around. Yeah, give me that immortality serum. I'm interested in that. That is exactly what I want. That's always the case, Bean. Nintendo really knows how to maximize their systems. Like when I was streaming Luigi's Mansion about a month ago, like that game still looks good, and there's a ton of GameCube games that look like total butt. But it's a certain kind of art style and knowing how to maximize what they're aiming for. Normally I play with manual transition, but we're just kind of messing around.
3, 2, 1, go! All right, this is gonna be a great race.
So now we're in the Grand Prix mode, which has you doing clumps of races, about 3 or 4 at a time, in order to advance to the next circuit. Just to kind of show off what you get after each race, if you can pull off a good finish, which I will be trying my hardest to do, because I want to succeed for everyone here. But it's the same, you know, it's a lap-based system, but there's also the checkpoint times that were popularized in the system probably by the Cruisin' series of games. There's some nice blur effects on the lights. I don't know if you guys caught that. Like visually, the thing about this game is that it's not the most visually impressive. It doesn't run at the highest frame rate, but it's steady. It doesn't, the performance doesn't dip. You know, so you don't get like a jerky stop and start frame rate, which kind of takes you out of the control of your car and the feeling of speed in the race, which I really like. Alright, we're in first place.
You did it!
You're blah 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 blah. You are the champion. Alright, so that's one down. We're gonna revisit this course again. You guys can see all the empty slots for cars here. So there's 4 that you get right off the bat. And then another, what is that? 4, 8, 12, 21 to unlock. Like, there's not a lot of car customization or anything like that, but that's a lot of content.
3, 2, 1, go! Alright, this is gonna be a great race. 3 laps to go.
That guy hit me. That guy hit me again. You're a jerk, green car. It's not the best music of the Ridge Racer series, but it definitely fits. It's what you would expect. It's just a nice, fun, arcade-style racer. And one thing that we're not going to cover tonight that I think is worth pointing out is that where a lot of N64 games shine is how well they do multiplayer. Because the N64 is one of the first systems that really kind of out of the box encouraged strong multiplayer from its games. And that's a whole other conversation if we're going to talk about which N64 games have the best multiplayer and what great games had multiplayer modes that just were kind of shoehorned in unnecessarily. That is a conversation for another day. I would like to see the cars that were in front of me.
Yeah! It's a new record! It's the final lap. Make it your best!
What's up, Tone? This is the third game of the night. You haven't missed too much. Unless you're a big fan of Mischief Makers or Doom 64. So there's still a lot of N64 games coming. Ronnie, I enjoyed Smash Brothers a lot until I started playing it with other people who love it more than I do. Smash players ruined Smash Brothers for me.
Okay, it's the last stretch. Keep going!
Well, you checked it out, Bean. You know, you got to try it for yourself. That's what matters. If you didn't enjoy it, you didn't enjoy it. It's definitely a very frustrating and challenging game. Alright, we're almost done with this first block of courses. And then we'll probably move on to our fourth game. I can't believe we've already been streaming for an hour. It feels like we just started.
2, 1, go! Alright, this is gonna be a great race. 3 laps to go.
I would like to pass you. One of the things I like about this game, or Ridge Racer in general, is that you get that immediate gratification of passing the first clump of cars, but then you really got to race well, sort of on your own, to pass the remaining cars one at a time. That's true. Bumble Gamer knows Canadian Smash players are the best Smash players. But it makes it really feel like it's you versus the track, and then, you know, as you're doing well, you'll get the opportunity to pass a car, and that's sort of like your moment to make a move. Then you got to go right back to just really clean racing. And I like that. It may not be the most adrenaline-fueled, but it makes you feel... Here's why I like Ridge Racer, is that the controls are so loose and arcadey that they don't take a lot of effort or time to master. And once you do master them, you just have to employ them as well as you can. And it makes you feel like you're really good at racing games. But really, Ridge Racer is just much easier compared to most racing games. And that's the difference. It's not that you're better, it's that the game is easier. But that makes it fun. It's there's something to be said for games that are easier than others because they don't give you a lot of pushback. You can just sort of enjoy them and dominate them. And that's fun in its own way. It's nice to be challenged and pushed, but sometimes you just want to feel like a badass. And Ridge Racer is good at capturing that feeling after you get over the initial hurdle of learning how to play it. Hitting that wall is probably going to prevent me from getting a first place finish. But I'm going to try, damn it. Woo! I think that's pretty normal, Toen. That's kind of how I feel right now about the Jaguar and the Saturn. Not that they had anywhere near the level of adoption that the N64 did, but they're systems that I just never really got to experience, but that I know have a fair amount of games to them. It's like the prospect of discovering a whole library of games that was previously unknown to me is really exciting. So I get where you're coming from. And that's why you're excited to be here. I understand now.
The stage is clear. Now let's
Hopefully you learn some new stuff. So we got 3 new cars for beating that cup. We can save our game. So like Ridge Racer, you get these car attack courses where you have to beat a rival to get these cars. I'm going to go for the blue Mappy car because Mappy is the shit. Mappy's my boy.
Three, two, one, go!
Jaguar. The Jaguar XL. It's a hardcore games machine. You can also play this game with the D-pad. You don't get quite the same level of control, but because it is such a loosely controlled game, you can kind of get away with it. So yeah, you go through the Grand Prix and you unlock the car attacks, and then you get those new cars and take them onto the harder courses in the Grand Prix. There's a good amount of content to this game, and I'm partial towards it because I'm a fan of the series. But I think it's a refreshing change of pace for people who have played Mario Kart to death and want something that's a little more technical, a little more fast. We'll do some more racing games later tonight, because there's another one that I want to show you guys that is definitely unique. But I'm going to take this opportunity. We've got 12 people in here, and I'll give you guys a reminder later on, but during the 7th game of the night, which is going to be the last game of our import block, there's going to be a passphrase that you guys can type into the chat, and I will draw a winner from all the people who use that passphrase during the 7th game. And whoever wins will get to choose what the subject of next week's showcase will be. So the phrase that we're going to use is hot soup. So during the 7th game tonight, all you have to do is type hot soup into the chat at some point, and you could win the ability to decide the topic of next week's showcase. Is there an N64 emulator with good current controller support? I'm going to be using an emulator a bit later on tonight. The N64 emulation is still not good. It's better than it has been, but it's still not very good. I'm using an emulator right now called Mupen 64 Plus with a front end because it's actually a command line emulator. But I couldn't figure out how to customize my controls, but it picked them up natively, and they work well. They're very responsive. Generally, though, I would say that like N64 emulator just isn't quite there yet, and you'll see what I mean when I get to it. Alright, so we got this cool new Mappy car.
Congratulations! That car is yours!
And we get the same 3 courses, but with higher difficulty. And I do believe there are other courses later on. But yeah, that's Ridge Racer 64. I think it's a lot of fun. I think it's worth playing, especially if you're looking for just like a good solid racing game to enjoy on the N64. But I think it's time for our next game, which is another one of my personal favorites. And it actually does have some roots to the Atari Jaguar. This game was originally developed for the Jaguar and then was ported over to the N64. It did not come out on the Jaguar, I should point out, but that's where its development began. Dinner and Radon. That's not a good. That's not a good combination, unless it's me Radon. Of course, you know what could be better. Crystal Pepsi Bros. So this is Tetrisphere. And this is also a pretty early N64 release. It's unique in that it forces you to use the D-pad. There's not many games in the system that make you use the D-pad as opposed to making it sort of an optional control scheme if you don't want to use the analog stick. This is obviously a puzzle game. It's based on Tetris, but what throws a lot of people off, I think when people play this game for the first time, it leaves a bad taste in their mouth, because when you think of Tetris, you think of dropping blocks and making lines. And Tetrisphere is very different. Tetrisphere is more about dragging blocks than it is I need to remember the code. Than it is about dropping them. Dropping blocks is actually pretty bad in this game. I need to remember the other Tetrisphere code. But I like this game because it has a good sort of fast-paced mechanic to it. It feels very satisfying when you learn what the game wants you to do. There we go. And the main reason I love this game is that it has one of my... Actually, I do believe my favorite game soundtrack of all time. Neil Voss composed the songs for this game. Did I fuck up? No, I didn't. And for especially an early N64 game, the music in this game is just... mwah. Let's go with our boy Turbine. So you got a few different modes of gameplay. You've got Rescue, Hide and Seek, Puzzle, Time Trial, and Versus CPU. And then Lines is a secret mode that you can put a code in to play. We're going to do Rescue, which is just sort of the base game mode. And the idea behind Tetrisphere is to break as many pieces off the core of the sphere as you can. 3 blocks makes a chain reaction. You have to drop a block to start a reaction. When the outline turns white like this, it'll tell you that you can drop a block and start a reaction, like so. You hold the B button to drag a highlighted block, and you can move it however you like. Breaking these little metal squares helps you uncover more of the sphere beneath. And you can set up some pretty massive point combination combos. There's also weapons. I just picked up a bottle rocket. You can see that in the bottom corner there. And you just have to blow up enough parts of the sphere to let out the robot on the inside. And the farther along you get into the game, the more of the sphere you need to uncover, the more layers there are at the top of the sphere. That'll do. So already you can see there's a couple layers to this. So I'm going to use our bottle rocket here to open up a little bit of a hole. You can stack your power-ups to get better ones. So it's not always worth it to just burn a power-up right away. You also have 3 lives in this game, and the way a life works is if you drop a block and it does not start a reaction, you lose a life. Or if you take too long, the sphere will gradually get closer and closer to you, and if it gets too close, and it'll force you to make a move, and if the move is illegal, you lose a life that way as well. So you have to act fast-ish. You get a lot of time at first, at the outset, to plan some big moves and take out a lot of the sphere. That's not going to be very good, but if you start a reaction with one of these lit up squares, this is how you get that sort of drawn out explosion, and that allows you to get big combos if you're playing for points. But I think this is just a great game to sort of chill out with. There's a surprising amount of depth to it, but once you learn that the game is about moving blocks, not dropping them, it's not too difficult. You know, you can make decent progress in this game, you know, without too much of a learning curve. I just love chilling out with the music. It's funky. It makes me want to dance. Like it can be relaxing. It can be blood pumping. Neil Voss did only a few soundtracks for games, to my knowledge, but they've all just been among my favorites. He also did the music for the next Tetris or the new Tetris for N64, and that is another one that is really, really good. What band is that, Ronnie? So I'll show you guys a couple different of the modes in this game. This is, again, the rescue mode, which is the sort of initial, simplest base game mode. The game does save your progress. There are an astounding number of levels to play through, honestly. I think each mode offers at least 100 levels for the most part. Time Trial doesn't really, and Versus CPU is a little shorter than others. But the game does save your progress, and there's a lot of levels to beat if you do want to sort of clear the game. It has a 2-player mode, which can be pretty fun if you've got another sort of puzzle fanatic friend to play with. They kind of have to understand the game on the same level as the other person playing it, because it can be a little one-sided if they don't. So you kind of want them to train up a little bit and learn the game before you just jump in and start trying to Tetrisphere each other. If that's a verb you can use. Full on the Mouth. I have not heard of them. Nor have I played Road Rash 64, so... Alright. That was 5 levels of rescue. We're gonna sort of hop around a little bit. So the second game mode is called Hide and Seek. And Hide and Seek is sort of like a mission mode, where every level you have to do something different. And I'll tell you at the start. So like this first level is a multi-level. And that means that it's basically just a... Yeah, there's pictures on the bottom of the sphere, or the core of the sphere, and if I uncover any of them, I win. So, like, right off the bat, you know, not super difficult. The first few levels are very tutorial-ish. Be able to get through them very quickly. Now we have a drill level. And there's these pink drills. Underneath one of them is another picture. If I create a combo next to one of the drills or drag a block into them and let them fall, then I can... They'll go down straight to the middle, and I can see whether or not the picture is there or not. If it is, I know that's where I need to do my uncovering, my excavation, and release that picture in order to clear the level. Sound cube. I'm interested. Alright, in a brick level, we just have to make a brick touch the base core. Once it touches the core, we've won. So we just have to sort of hollow out the space beneath it, slide some pieces around to let it fall, and once it's there, we've done it. So hide and seek kind of keeps it fresh. There's, again, a lot of levels to play through, and there aren't obviously unique missions for each type, but they get harder, and they sort of make you do different objectives on each level. Alright, so in this one we have a tower. They're all kind of similar, obviously. We have a tower here, and the picture we know is surrounding the tower, so we have to clear out all the space around it. There's another version of this that comes up later on called Crystal Tower, which are the hardest levels in the game because you basically... It's the same premise, except that if any combo happens next to the tower will break and you will get a game over. So you have to sort of clear out all the space around the tower, but at the same time not do it so overzealously as to damage the tower itself. Yeah, it just tastes like Pepsi. But I mean, that's kind of the same problem that Crystal Pepsi had when it first came out. Alright, this is our actual hide and seek level, so if we clear this level, we'll finish the world. And these are just a regular these hide and seek levels are just rescue levels. You have to uncover enough of the core to let the robot out. The robots get larger as the game goes on, so you have to uncover more of the core the farther in you get. Interesting. Well, if it's anything like Tetrisphere, I'm interested, Saturn, because this is one of my favorite games. Alright, so that was the first world of hide and seek. It didn't show you all the different goals there are, but it gives you a taste for the sort of changing goal that you have to solve level to level. Puzzle mode is like a puzzle mode in your standard puzzle game, where it's instead of following the sort of base gameplay, it'll give you a slower paced puzzle that you can kind of solve on your own. So in Tetrisphere, these can actually be very difficult, because you have to clear all the blocks in this square using the number of moves they give you there in the bottom right corner. So I can slide one block and drop one block, and that's how I solve the puzzle. I'm actually really bad at this game's puzzle mode. Usually puzzle modes are where I shine in puzzle games, but in this one, I get about 20 levels in, and it really starts beating my butt. You notice that my cursor is a circle instead of the piece shape, and what that means is that I will drop whatever piece I'm highlighting. It's a wild card drop, and they'll happen at some points during the game itself. We've got to do a slide and let gravity do the combo for me there. And that's where this gets difficult, is that you have to not only just drop pieces, you have to really figure out what it is you're supposed to do to get the pieces to all chain. Yeah, it's not gonna do it. I will definitely check that out, Saturn. Thank you. That's all I needed to do. Yeah, that's the sort of base mechanic that puzzle mode follows. It gets very difficult very quickly, especially because you have to think about things in a three-dimensional fashion. A showcase of unlicensed games. If you win the prize tonight, Bean, it's up to you. If you win, if you don't win, it's up to not you. It's up to someone else. Time trial is very very straightforward. It's just, here's a ball. Get to the core as quickly as you can. You get basically 5 minutes total. I believe you get more time as you clear stages, but you are just supposed to clear as many stages as you can, get as many points as you can within the time limit. And it's good for not direct competition, but more sort of like tournament-style competition where you can basically set someone down and say, because, yeah, okay, the timer does not extend from level to level. So you can say, like, all right, we're going to play time trial mode, you know. You get 5 minutes to rack up as high a score as you can. Highest score wins. So it's better for, you know, getting a gauge of what someone's actual skill level in this game is, as opposed to pitting two people against each other who may be of disparate skill levels. This is more traditional style scoring. Oops. So there I dropped a piece before I had made a line, and I lost a life. Your lives do refresh from stage to stage, so... Yeah, as soon as you make Tetris 3D, it really... There's so many takes on what 3D Tetris entails, and this, I feel, is one of the more unique ones. I think a lot of people didn't enjoy this because it is so much more different than original Tetris. The name is probably a little misleading, but I think it's a great puzzle game. I think the music and the presentation are really good. It runs at a decent frame rate. You know, it's not too technically impressive, and that probably works in its favor. But I am kind of a puzzle game fan. I like playing puzzle games, and this is one that always stands out to me as like something that's very unique and enjoyable. And has always been one of my favorites. Yeah, Jason, definitely look into it. I mean, if for no other reason than the soundtrack. Like, the music in this game is just... And, I tried to put the code in. I don't think it took. We'll see. Let me actually exit out, and we'll show off another mode. There's a code you can put in to get... chiptune music, a set of chiptune songs. To appear in the game as well. There we go. So we'll do versus CPU. And this is sort of just like a faux multiplayer where you go up against the computer and it gets harder and harder as you play. But each of these modes has endings. They're not very involved. This game doesn't really have a super deep story or anything. But there is something to work for in most every mode. Time Trials is really the only one where you are more or less competing against the clock and competing against yourself to go for the highest score. Everything else has a stage progression to it and an ending to the mode, which you can record on your save file. We see some garbage pieces coming in as big combos happen. These black pieces start dropping, and they change color. You can move them, but you can't. You kind of have to work around them until they change color. And they change color over time, but you can also make combos around them, and those combos will still go off. So you see in the bottom here, what I'm going for is core pieces. The first person to uncover 4 core pieces wins the round. And that's versus CPU mode. And then the last mode is one that you have to put a code in to unlock, and that's Lines mode. And Lines mode is different in that in this mode you cannot drop pieces. So the way you play this mode is once you line up 3 pieces to a combo, they disappear. So this mode is actually really good for getting you in the habit of playing this game the way it wants to be played. It's kind of a shame that this is a hidden mode, because, like I said before, the emphasis on this game is really on dragging pieces more than it is on dropping them. And so playing this mode can really kind of get you in the mindset of doing that. Even if the core mechanic does change, because you don't need to drop pieces. Now, the lines in this game have to be either horizontal or vertical, so you see that this didn't create a chain reaction because it's an L shape. But if I drag these over and make 3 in a horizontal or a vertical line, it causes the blocks to disappear. Another thing about these light blocks, in addition to creating those long combos, is that they can climb as you drag them. They can go one block up at a time, meaning you can sort of have a little more freedom in terms of how you move them around. Whereas one that isn't lit up, I can't go up that little step there of depth because that would be climbing. So that's another reason why you kind of want to search out for these blocks that are glowing. And they just sort of appear over time. But this is Tetrisphere, and I like it because, again, soundtrack, visual presentation is simple but effective. 6 different modes of play, not including, human multiplayer. Sort of a different take on puzzling, on the Tetris formula, if it can even be called a Tetris game truly. There aren't many puzzle games on the N64, and this one is probably more inventive than the others, with one exception, which we are not playing tonight, but Wetrix is certainly a very, very unique puzzle game. But for the most part, most puzzle games in the system played it very safe. There's either a Tetris clone or a Panel de Pon or Tetris Attack clone. And this one is just something that's totally new. It has Tetris in the name, but I would hesitate to call it a Tetris game. I would say that it is as fun and compelling as a Tetris game once you finally sort of grasp the objective of the game. But there you go. That's Tetrisphere. That is our 4th game of the night. Again, another one of my all-time favorites. Much like Doom 64. Games that I count among the best that the system has to offer. We're going to switch off the actual hardware now because we're going to switch over to our import block of the night. I'm going to show you guys some import N64 games. Ones that you guys have probably heard of if you're at all familiar with import N64 games. These are sort of the creme de la creme, for the most part, things that people are generally looking for. And last week there was a lot of talk while I was doing Bomberman 94. There was a lot of talk about Bomberman 64 and how people either loved it or were really disappointed by it. And that's the game that we're going to play next, is Bomberman 64. The wrinkle, of course, being that in Japan, Bomberman 64, as we know it, was released under a different name. It was called Baku Bomberman. And they got a different game called Bomberman 64 that was actually the last game released for the N64 in Japan. And it's significantly different. And it's not working on OBS right now. I'm not surprised by that. So let me figure that out real quick, because this thing likes to give me problems. There we go. There's going to be some graphical glitches. There's going to be things that shouldn't look the way that they will here, and that's just sort of the shortcoming of N64 emulation. I do have a modded N64, but I just don't have it out right now, so... we're going to reset the game. So this is the final game released for the N64, as I said. It's a much more traditional take on Bomberman. Once you guys see the actual gameplay, you're going to be like, oh, snap. Like, that's Bomberman. It can be a little pricey because it was the last game released for the system. It has all the multiplayer modes you would expect. We're just going to be playing the single player here. But as you can see, this is Bomberman. Like, this is exactly what one expects from a Bomberman game. And is maybe even more traditional than some of the Super Bomberman games, in a way. But I think for all the people out there who, you know, weren't impressed with the 3D Bombermans, you may not have realized it, but there is actually a 2D Bomberman for the N64 that can sort of scratch that itch with the built-in multi-tap 4-player support. Yeah, the IQ player, that's an interesting piece of machinery. Alright, there's our goal. There are multiple goals, so there's branching paths in this game. It's kind of an interesting thing for a Bomberman game to have. That guy's not gonna die. He's too wily. He's too cagey. There isn't really a lot to say about this game. It's a Bomberman game, and again, it's one of those instances where it's kind of a no-brainer. Like, it's surprising that we didn't get this game in America, or that it took 5 years of N64 development before Hudson was just like, you know, we've got 4 controller ports on this thing. Why don't we just make a Bomberman game? Like, nothing fancy, nothing brand new or inventive, just a straight-out Bomberman game. If I didn't put that second bomb there, I would have killed that guy. And that's all this game is, you know? It's just a no-frills Bomberman title. Getting a copy of this game is going to set you back around 50 to 60 bucks, which again is not bad. But it is a pretty sought-after title. If you want it with box and manual, it's closer to 90-ish. And And playing import games on an N64 is extremely easy. So if this is something you want to add to your collection, I highly recommend it. I think it's a great 4-player title. What party is not made better by having Bomberman on hand, you know? So it can be a little confusing because this game's Japanese title is just Bomberman 64. So when you're looking for this game, you got to make sure that it's the one you want, because people will list the Japanese version of what we know as Bomberman 64 for sale as Bomberman 64. But the labels are different, and it doesn't take much time to figure out the difference between the two. China has a 3DS IQ now? Yeah, this is definitely a game that I wanted to show you guys if you've never seen it before. And when everyone started talking about Bomberman 64 on last week's showcase, you know, that was just sort of kismet. It was meant to be that I would show you guys this game today. And maybe you already seen it before, you knew about it. But I think most people don't even know about all the American Bomberman games that we got on the 64, much less this import-only release. Smaller stage to work with. Something a little more intimate with which to Bomberman. So to mod an N64 to work with all but like 3 games, Bean, here's what you need. You need a safety bit screwdriver that can take apart most Nintendo consoles, which costs about $3 or $4. Then you open your N64, and you take out the little plastic plate that sits around the cart tray. You just pull it out. Your N64 is now modded. It won't play European games, if I'm not mistaken, because they do run at a different frame rate. I mean, it will try, but I don't think it'll necessarily work all that well. And I think there are like a small handful of like 2 or 3 games that don't work using this method. But the region modding, the region locking on an N64 is much like the Super Nintendo's, where it's not an actual region lock so much it is the difference in the shape of the cartridges. So if you remove that plastic plate that sits around the cart slot, it can take import carts. The doors, let me show you. Yeah, so these doors will basically not work anymore. The spring that forces them up when there's nothing in there is sort of attached to this gray plastic plate that sits around the cart slot. But other than that, it's entirely functional. You just pull that plate out, and you can import Japanese N64 games. And they will work totally fine on your hardware. Yeah, so there's Bomberman 64, Bomberman Hero, and then Bomberman 64 The Second Attack, which is one of the more valuable and rare N64 games. That one had a very limited print run. So collecting that one can set you back, but there is also a fourth Bomberman game, released only in Japan, and that is this game. It's got a lot of different modes and stuff too. There might be more to it than just this sort of classic Bomberman 1 style gameplay. But there you go. That's Bomberman 64, Japanese version, or Bomberman 64 2001. Definitely worth looking into. The next game on the list is one that Ronnie called. This is sort of like the game that people talk about when they talk about import N64 games. This is again another game of my treasure.
Archie,
And it is Sin and Punishment.
hurry! Evans, Archie.
Are these the rebels?
One group of them, sir. They have no strength to resist any longer.
But the leaders are still alive. There's no time now. Join the troops intercepting the ruffians.
So the interesting thing about Sin and Punishment is that the game is completely dubbed in English. The menu is in Japanese, you have to translate that. But you can understand everything that's happening in the game story-wise because it was entirely dubbed in English. It does say, press to start to button. What's up, A-Scythe? How's it going?
Joshua, listen. A ruffian swarm is approaching your position. I've also confirmed Radon's location.
Didn't I tell you? Make me the bait, and Radon will come to feast.
Radon.
is jealous of me. I took you for myself.
I have chosen you.
This game was hyped up a lot and then did not come out in America, so people were really sort of upset about that. But you can get it now on the Wii Virtual Console for $10, I think. Alright, let's go ahead and start the game. It is a rail shooter. It's kind of like a ground-based Star Fox. This is the only menu, again, where you kind of have to get a translation guide, but this is our story mode option here. So we're going to pick that. And so it's this sort of rail shooter game. The controls are pretty complicated, but they don't take too long to get used to. The game is also not very difficult.
Get bonus.
But it can be a lot of fun. It's kind of a Cabal-style run-and-gun shooter. Also very much like Space Harrier.
Get bonus.
I don't remember how I use my sword. But I can move my cursor with the analog stick
Bonus.
using the C buttons or the D-pad. I can walk around. And then I've got a jump button. And a shoot button.
Get bonus.
Get bonus. Guys, get bonus. Yeah, Space Area 64 is pretty apt for this level, at least. Sorry, 1 second. There's more to this game. Okay, here we go. Here's our first boss fight.
Get a bonus.
Yeah, give me that bonus. How good was the sequel to this game? I actually can't answer that question, Bean. I own the sequel to this game. Never played it. So I couldn't tell you.
Saki! Oh, Saki. Good morning, Saki.
Good morning, Iron.
Alright, those graphical glitches are...
Let's go.
Okay, that was weird looking. N64 emulation at its best. So yeah, the actual game is a lot more start and stop. You gotta kind of reach different encounters and clear the area a la Virtua Cop before you can advance. But the running forward is all handled by the game itself. So once you've cleared away what they want you to clear away, then you'll just sort of go forward. But you have a time limit as well, so you've got to take care of the obstacles quickly so you don't run out of time.
Nice shot. Keep it up. Take care of it, Saki.
I think once things are close range enough, I'll use my sword on them. Like I said, it's not a very difficult game, but it's in true Treasure fashion. You know, there's a lot you can do as far as score attack. It's got responsive controls once you learn them. And because of the voice acting, it is a generally import-friendly game. The only strictly Japanese parts are the subtitles and the main menu. And you can go on a wiki and get all the data you need about what the main menu options are. I should have jumped over that.
Ruffians here already?
Voice acting is, of course, not great, but... yeah, so there I'm using my sword once they get close enough. Easy to play, difficult to master. I guess it depends on what your definition of master is, you know, because if all you're trying to do is beat the game, it doesn't really get in your way. It'll just sort of... you might lose a couple lives, have to continue a couple times, but your first playthrough should be adequate to complete the game. If you want to go for like the highest possible combo and the highest possible score, yeah, that would be difficult and would take some practice.
Iron, cover our backs.
If you double tap your direction, you can do a combat roll to help you avoid taking damage. This game is just kind of interesting to me because it feels very much like a game, in my mind, it feels like a game you would expect to see on a Sega system. And that's probably that Treasure design influence sort of coming through. I think those U's are not supposed to be there.
Quick, into Shinjuku Station.
Hurry! The ruffian swarm has started attacking. There, That should get the elevator moving.
You think they're onto us?
Maybe, but they're probably missing.
And your combo actually does carry over from level to level, so it is feasible to combo the entire game if you're good enough. Which can lead to some very big scores. And also, a finite, you know, like, oh, well, this run is over. If you're going for that score bonus and you drop your combo, which I think only happens if you die, honestly. But, it's definitely a must-have for score attack runs. It's just a fun game. It's not overly complicated. It's very different from other N64 games. And a lot of people already know about it because of the hype that was built up for its inevitable non-North American release. And then subsequent virtual console release much later on. It's just a game that has sort of like a lot of brand recognition and is well known as sort of like that N64 game that you ought to import. We're running out of time. No. Oh, just barely got him.
Skip the small fry. Capturing Radon is our top priority.
It's Radon. Ooh. That's Sin and Punishment. It really doesn't change from here. It's just got kind of like a weird story about like mutants. Nintendo Dragoon, yeah. It's a very weird game in terms of its story. I think it has two-player also. I think you can play cooperative two-player, which is definitely a perk for some people. Let's get a 500 hit combo and then we'll change games. To our last game of the import block, which if you guys were here earlier, you know that means it's time for the giveaway contest prize. Yeah, sure. Yep, whatever. Not yet, Bumble Gamer, not yet. Soon. Once the next game starts. Get bonus. Motherfucker. Oh. I'm getting murdered is what I'm getting.
Get bonus.
Stop with all the boss fights. Oh, don't kill me. I'm so close. Damn it.
Saki.
Alright. You guys ready for the final import game of the night? This one's a little bit different because this one is going to be a European import. Now, this game did come out in Japan, but it also got localized to Europe, and so it does have an English translation. So we're going to officially start now. You guys type hot soup in the chat. During this game, you'll be entered for a chance to decide what the next week's showcase is going to be about. And this game that we're going to play right now, game number 7 of the night, is Rakuga Kids. I didn't mean to say it like that, but Bronchitis is a son of a bitch. Hot soup, there we go, hot soup. So yeah, Rakuga Kids is a Konami game that was not released in America, but it did. This is the Japanese and European title, so if you import this game from Europe, you will get it in full English. And it's another game that kind of follows that 2D design philosophy, but it just looks really good, and it plays kind of well too. It is a fighting game, and it is your standard 6-button control scheme, which it's a shame that the N64 didn't capitalize more on, because if you look at the N64 controller, if you use the claw method of playing, there's your 6-button Capcom fighter layout right there. With a D-pad, you can just sort of hold it like this, and it would have been perfect for like Street Fighter games or Darkstalkers, any of that stuff. And very few times was it actually employed. So Rakuga Kids has this interesting sort of doodle, kind of Parappa-ish art style. But that means that the frame rate in this game is just so good. So our first match is going to be a mirror match, apparently. There's a bit of a load time on matches, I think.
Let's get ready to rumble!
But it's just a 2D fighter with these sort of weird hand-drawn figures and like ska music. It's got a combo system, it's got special moves. It just, like, this looks really good. Not just for an N64 game. Like, to me, this still looks good. Despite the childish sort of animation style, you could tell me that this was, like, a downloadable PS3 title. And I would be like, yeah, okay. Like, I buy that.
KO! You win!
There's not a lot of great fighting games on the N64, which again, given what I just pointed out about the controller design, is really a shame. You know, there's KI Gold, and then there's what, like the Mortal Kombat 4, Mortal Kombat Trilogy, the Fighters Destiny games, Deadly Arts, Dark Rift, like War Gods. There's just, it's a lot of the dregs of like mid to late 90s fighting games, and to have like a unique game like this that controls pretty damn well and has a solid amount of 2D fighter depth. It's kind of a shame it didn't come out in America. But you can import it from either Japan or Europe. Is it the ska music? Is the ska music why you think it's from Kablam? Because there was a lot of ska music on that show. But it was 1998. Ska music was a thing.
KO! You win!
Viva School. You lost an N64 controller by trying to repair the control stick. How'd you do that? I mean, like, trying to repair a control stick, I can understand, because I tried to do that, and I damn near, like, could not put it back together. But it's just, like, replacing the control stick is very easy if you have an actual spare harness and all that. Robot Cho.
Let's get ready to rumble!
A lot of the art style and the music in this game reminds me of, like, Guitar Freaks. I almost wonder if a lot of the same artists and whatnot worked on both franchises. I like the pseudo 3D in this stage, though. You can see how it kind of tilts towards the edges. Like, it's very tasteful. The graphics in this game are so clean, and it runs so well. Like, even though it's sort of silly and weird, I'm surprised it didn't come out just to kind of show off, like, hey, you know, look at this artistic sort of weirdness. If you, like, PlayStation's got Parappa, sure, but Nintendo's got Rakuga Kids. And it just wasn't meant to be, I guess. I don't really know a lot of, like, special moves or anything in this game, so I apologize that I'm probably not showing off the complexity of this game to its fullest. Now I kind of want a Sesame Street fighting game. I'd play that. Mr. Hooper's OP, though. Mr. Hooper is top fucking tier. He's got that Shun Goku Satsu he puts on Oscar the Grouch. Just get off my sidewalk. Alright, guys, we're not going to be playing this for much longer, so if you have not yet said hot soup to get in the drawing, you should probably do that. I will pick a winner after this game, and then we will finish up with the final 3 games of the showcase. Yeah, opening an N64 control stick is not an easy task. It really isn't. If you can, just buy a replacement one that already comes in the little harness, and that's a very easy job to do, just swapping that out. It's coming down to the wire. Robot Show versus Bear Tank. Who's gonna win? Oh god, let's get fatality'd. No. Ooh, oh, ooh, oh.
You win! Round 3. Fight!
Ooh, I got a 4-hit combo. And a crudely drawn lion submarine. This game is weird. This game is very strange. But the animation is just so good. Elephant airplane. Bye. Oh my god, Magic Series. 6-hit combo. Oh man, Aaron and I went to the new Japanese restaurant in town the day I went to the doctor's, and it's expensive, but damn, it was good. It was like really fancy inside, and the food was really good. Alright. That is it for Rakuga Kids. It is time to choose our winner. I'm going to write down everybody here who said hot soup. We got Bumble Gamer 64. We got Ronnie 1031. We got Bean 9576. Toe of the Sun. A-Site said hot borscht. That doesn't count. We got a Pisha Pants. Oh yeah, fighting is magic. Alright, so we got 5 people in the drawing. So here's what I'm going to do. You guys should be able to see that. We got to go to our list randomizer. And I'm going to type in all the names here. Hey A-Scythe, I said hot soup, you said hot borscht. That's how this game works. You knew what you were doing. Alright, so the name that comes out on the top is going to be the one that is... Oh, damn it. That is the champion. I think something can list all the names, but the first one it posts is going to be the one that wins. So the next showcase is going to be decided by... Toe of the Sun. Toe of the Sun is your champion. Toe of the Sun. You can pick a console that you want me to show off. You can pick a genre or like a game developer. Just 10 games I will be showing off next week using a theme of your choice. You are tonight's champion. A round of applause for you. Alright, so that's our import block for the N64, showing off a couple games that did not get released stateside that are worth looking into. We're going to go back to our actual hardware now. So I can set down this controller and pick up my boy again. And our next game is one that when you're an N64 owner, because it was sort of the second fiddle system of the era, you had to make concessions. Like, if you wanted to play Final Fantasy VII, you had to buy Quest 64. And that's a lot of the reason why Quest 64 is kind of frowned upon, is because that was the analog to that game. This is a game that I checked out because I wanted to play Metal Gear Solid, but I did not own a PlayStation at the time, and so I had to make do with the best substitute that the N64 had to offer. And so this is Winback Covert Operations. I have to set the sound up again. 1 second. And we'll skip the opening. This did come out on PS2, Ronnie. Yeah, this was ported up to PS2 when the PS2 came out. This is less a stealth game than Metal Gear was, and more like a cover-based shooter. But this is a game that I had a lot of fun playing back in the day. It can be very difficult because, like Metal Gear, if you don't use the cover mechanics, you will get murdered pretty quickly. But it's got some interesting mechanics to it. There's like 3 different endings based on how long it takes you to beat the game. And it's pretty much... This was one of the first games I can remember that actually had you utilizing cover like this. Winback in the day. Boy, let me tell you. Oh, hang on. Oh, no, hang on. You play as Jean-Luc. There's just a lot of popping in and out of cover like this. So the game can get a little repetitive. There's, I think, like 24 chapters. It's not a short game. And some unique environments, some very challenging boss fights. It's nowhere near as crazy as Metal Gear was. And story-wise, it definitely pales in comparison. But in terms of just sort of like semi-covert spy game, it was an admirable substitute. And a game that I'd certainly learned to love because it was the closest I could get to what I actually wanted. I'm trying to remember. Okay, so I do have my other guns right off the bat, but those have limited ammo. The pistol has unlimited ammo, although there are clips that you need to manage. I'm trying to remember if you can go into like a first-person mode. It does not appear that you can. Yeah, draw distance is pretty standard for an N64 game. I do appreciate that the game offers a laser sight so that you can kind of... Okay. Damn it, a laser trap. One slip and I'd be a crispy critter. An anthropomorphic showcase? What exactly would you be looking for in that? Out of curiosity. Like just 10 games with anthropomorphic characters, or like the best 10 games, or 10 anthropomorphic characters you didn't maybe know about? Like, could you elaborate on that idea? Health packs are really scarce in this game, so you have to be so careful with how you handle encounters. Because there you do not get a lot of opportunities to refill your health. I'm gonna be one in one of these boxes. The PS2 version has voice-acted cutscenes. If anyone who's played an old Dynasty Warriors game, they are not well acted. So if you want bad voice acting, perfect. If you don't, you might want to stick with the N64 version. Let's shotgun this guy in the face, shall we? By face, I mean chest. Either way, he got a healthy dose of the business. I'm hiding. Shh, I'm hiding. I'm hiding! I said I was hiding. I don't know. I just think I would need probably something a little more to go on than just anthropomorphic characters, because there's a lot of ways you can take that, you know. Does Bugs Bunny count? Does should the games be the best games? Should they be the most notorious games? Should it be a celebration of shoehorned mascot platformers? You know, there's just a lot of ways you can take that. You cannot carry any more magazines. Alright, I guess it's time to machine gun some folks. Alright, we've reached the checkpoint. Can't carry any more shotgun shells either. Let's fix that. Oh yeah, this game has realistic reloads. Olympic Games Showcase. Ooh. Man, there's some really terrible games based on the Olympics. Oh no, not Izzy's quest for the Olympic rings. No. This game also has a sequel. There is a Winback 2. And I can guarantee you that under the right circumstances, I will be showing that game off as well in a showcase at a later time. Because I don't think a lot of people know about Winback 2. And I actually enjoy Winback 2 a lot. I was kind of surprised because I don't think that this is like a great game, guys. Don't get me wrong. But it's one of those games that, like I said, not having a PlayStation... it was sort of like the next best thing, and so like learning that there was another Winback, I kind of went into it with like more realistic expectations, but I still came away really liking it. I don't remember how to use the lock target feature. It's been a long time since I played this game. It's just where I press, when I pull my gun out, it locks to something, right? Down C. Alright, we'll give that a shot. Health pack. Health pack. We have disabled the lasers. God damn, 10 Nickelodeon games? That would suck. Oh god, nope. I'm dead. What's up, Ramses? Just playing some N64. Outer Ground. Got 3 weapons. Got no items. Here's the whole Winback team. They are all missing. Keith Birdie. Matthew Brown. Law Bruford. Thomas Smith, the Thinker. Mike Hawkins. I actually know Mike Hawkins. Jake Hudson. Lisa Roberts. Stephen Legal. Stephen Legal. Danielle Stewart. We are playing Winback Covert Operation right now. And I just died. So you want, Towan, you want 5 of the best anthropomorphic games with anthropomorphic characters? I guess, how do you want me to define that? Like, are you looking for mascot platformers or really just like anything with a with an anthropomorphic character in it? Ooh, shotgun. I'm dying. Man, I wanted to beat the first level for you guys, but it's not going in my favor, so... He's no doctor. Anthropomorphic main character is the only specification. Alright. That gives me a lot of wiggle room. I think I can come up with some interesting stuff there. I'll probably just do like some of the weirder but better ones, if that's alright with you. Like, Bubsy's not going to be there. Let's just put that out right now. I want to show you guys enjoyable games unless you specifically tell me not to. So, the likelihood of Bubsy showing up, low. Alright, well that's enough Winback. It's a fun game. It can be tough. It's really all about minimizing the amount of damage you take. You can see that even though I reached a checkpoint, my life bar stays the same. So you can restart the level if you think you can sort of do better. It's just all about, like, really, you have to make really smart choices. In a Metal Gear, you can kind of get away with doing some dumb shit. In Winback, you really can't. You have to make sure that whatever you do minimizes the amount of possible damage you can take. If you get to rushing into situations too much, it'll get you killed real fast. Well, Zool is an intergalactic ninja. I don't think he's anthropomorphic unless he's an anthropomorphized ninja, which doesn't really make sense. I'm about to get pump shottied again, aren't I? Where'd he go? Yeah, there he is. Now you're dead. Don't you look dumb. Also, if you're going to play this game, get used to this music. This... Because that's pretty much a constant in this game. There are different songs, but it's mostly this Haka Chaka stuff. Mr. Nuts. Mr. Nuts is definitely anthropomorphized. Sorry, what? What'd you want? Couldn't hear you. Too busy plugging you. Dog. This is also as fast as Jean-Luc can run. So mobility is not the name of this game. I was trying to be sneaky in this ankle-deep water. How did you hear me? Anyone else? No? Cool, I'm gonna get this med kit then. The blue lasers are down. Oh boy. Oh boy. Pop! 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 Boop. Oh, you better run. 5 best characters and 5 worst characters. I'll give it some thought. I'll try and come up with something good for you. Hang on, hang on, hang on. Shh. Quiet. I'm not here. Just kidding, I'm here. What are you doing with your life, man? Oh, he came around the other side of the wall. That was not beneficial to my health. No, he didn't drop an F-bomb. I might have. Alright, we're good again. Everything is bueno. I'm almost dead. Alright, turn those lasers off. Alright, we beat stage 1. Oh, also the team name in Winback is Scat. Stars was taken. In Winback, you're an elite member of the Scat. Sure, save. Save the game. Save all the games. So my life is refilled. We move on to stage 2. It's more of the same, different locales. The boss fights are really where this game mixes it up, but it's just basically this sort of start and stop, you know, cover-based shooter. That's Winback. I recommend it. I think it's a pretty good game. It's not mind-blowing, but It's always been one of my favorite N64 games. We are down to the final 2 games of the night. And I promised you guys more racing. Because I like racing games. I don't think a lot of people would guess that about me, but I'm a big, big fan of racing games. And I think this is one of the better racing games on the system. But you might not expect what this game is. Like, you look at the box and you think, wow, that's a stupid idea. It is very much a product of its time. So this came out in 1999, I believe. Right when the Volkswagen Beetle 2.0 had come out. And the fine folks at Electronic Arts had signed a licensing deal to make a game in which you drive the Volkswagen Beetle, a car that struggles to go over 70 miles an hour in most circumstances. You take a racing game and a bunch of weird locales where you can only drive VW Beetles. But it's a really surprisingly A, good game, B, unique game, and C, sort of innovative game. Yeah, I need to start taking my meds soon because I am getting into full bronchitis mode here. This is Beetle Adventure Racing. In other parts of the world, it was just known as Adventure Racing because they didn't get the Beetle license, or it just wasn't as relevant. And I think they used like just a generic style car. But what makes this game unique is that compared to other racing games of the time, yeah, that rainbow car does take forever to get. The courses are very long. You know, most racing games of this era, they have you do like a lap in a minute, maybe a minute and a half tops. In this game, a 3-lap race is going to take you around 10 minutes to do, which is kind of appropriate considering how not exactly sport car or racing level the Volkswagen is. You can unlock different kinds of Beetles. You have these 3 to start with, which are basically one that's not very fast but steers well, one that is fast but doesn't steer well, and this one which has the most acceleration and higher than low top speed and handling. So why would you not pick this one? You can also change the color on it because, you know, there's a lot of color options on a Volkswagen. We'll go with this sort of charcoal brown. I'm going to go automatic again. Like I said, I normally go manual, but I just kind of want to demonstrate the game. So yeah, you see right away the record time on this course is like 6 minutes, just above 6.5 minutes, or just under. The music in this game is really good. Also, it's got like really good sort of jungly beats. But okay, so let's get into what makes this game special. Aside from the long lap times, there are shortcuts littered all over these courses. The game really encourages you to try and explore and go off track, and really see what there is aside from the main race road. So some of them might not get you the best advantages in terms of going faster than the other cars, but there's a lot to see and do in this game. You'll see me hitting these boxes right now with 2s or 5s on them, and you'll see a number in the bottom left corner that says bonus. Each course has 100 points on it, located in those crates. And in order to find them, you have to, in your 3 laps, explore really all the shortcuts and the main road. And if you can get all 100 points on a course, then you can unlock a new car with better stats. So not only do you just have to get good at winning these races, but you have to really learn the ins and outs of every single path in this game and put together a complete race that sort of showcases all the different places you can go in order to 100% this game, you need to really figure out not only where the game encourages you to go, but where you can go that the computer cars might not. And so starting out, you have these sort of cars that don't handle super well. They're not as fast as possible. But Ace, I've mentioned the translucent rainbow alien car is really good. There's a police Beetle, which is sort of a silly idea. And unlocking those cars takes a lot of effort and time, but it's worth it because then they help you get the later unlocks and help you win the races that much more handily. It can be difficult though at first without having a super tricked out Beetle to kind of control where it is you're going and make sure you're hitting all the ramps and everything. Controls are a little more stiff compared to a game like Ridge Racer, but it still feels good to play. And it's a lot of fun because those of us who grew up with the N64, there was this obsession. Once gaming had gone into the 3D space, there was this real and honest obsession where, where people would try and go everywhere in a game. And I think that sense really sort of lasted all the way up to like the first Halo, you know, where people were trying to do crazy shit to get to the top of Blood Gulch and all that. But in the N64 era especially, there was just an obsessive group of people who wanted to see how out of bounds you could go in every game possible. And 3D games allowed, early 3D games really allowed for that, in that the boundary programming wasn't quite as tight as it could have been. And so you might be able to go somewhere that was really sort of strange and different, and it led to a lot of speculation of like, well, why can we go here? Is there something hidden here for us to find? And a lot of times the answer was no. But in this game, while there is, you know, definitely a more rigid boundaries because it is a racing game, they do want you to spend a significant amount of time looking around and seeing what you can find. And I think for a lot of people who played this game when it came out, that's what made this game really stand out, is it actually encouraged that, you know, hey, we should look around, we should see where all we can go and not just go for the best time or win, you know, a first place finish. There was that extra added wrinkle of, okay, but what else can I do? Where else can I go? Where haven't I looked for these point boxes yet? And that's what makes this game really stand out. It's what takes this game from just an average N64 racing game to something that really, really stands out. I don't know if you guys are interested at all, because chat kind of died as soon as I started playing this game, but like I said, I do certainly have an affection for racing games, so I've played my fair share of them, and I have my opinions on what I like and what I don't like. And Beetle Adventure Racing is definitely one that I like, though it is, as we mentioned earlier, like if you're trying to get everything, if you're trying to find everything, it's a hard one. It is by no means a simple game to master. Showcase top 10 WoW classes. Man, I don't know. Hearthstone, Doritos Priest. I don't even know. You can see too that the course actually changes from lap to lap, whereas earlier this turn was closed off. The race has you actually finish out going to a unique location, and a lot of times there'll be point boxes there so that you have to, you know, set the race up, but then not choke at the end. But 06 mentioned has been watching the vistas, and yeah, there aren't a lot of tracks in this game, but they're all very unique.
You're still in the game.
And I want to show at least a few of them off.
Welcome to Mount Mayhem.
Alright, just making sure, because it got real quiet in here. And I know that like a game about driving Volkswagens isn't exactly the most engaging thing to show off, but I do actually think this game is a lot of fun and not your average racing game. So I do think it's worth a look. Have I played Mickey Speedway? I have played Mickey Speedway. I think that game is very underrated. It's no Diddy Kong Racing, but it's way better than people would think. My only complaint about it is that you cannot 100% it without an N64 transfer pack and the Game Boy Color version of the game. And that's kind of frustrating. Like, if it unlocked things early, that'd be cool, but the fact that you just flat out cannot 100% it without those things. And I have the transfer pack, all I'm missing is the Game Boy Color version of the game. But it is a very good game. It's a very good sort of Mario Kart clone. So the first level is Coventry Cove. It's a very castle-themed level. This is Mount Mayhem. Obviously, it's snowy. I just fell off of a bridge. This is one of my biggest fears in life. But it's this sort of ski resort level with this dynamic snow weather. There is an e-brake button, which you have to learn how to master if you want to be able to make these turns in these, especially in these slower, earlier cars. You've really got to get a handle on the e-brake. That's not good. There we go. Need kind of a faster car or a nitro boost to get the stuff that's up there. Can you unlock the rest of the Game Shark code? Probably. I don't think there's any reason why you wouldn't be able to do that. I don't have an N64 Game Shark though, so I would imagine you can. It's all just moving around bits. Please stop. Alright. Oh, secret. Damn it. No, hang on. Hang on. Hang on. There we go. Alright, now we're on the shortcut. Thanks. I feel like I, made up a lot of time. Alright, this time we're going to go the straight way through town. I think I took the detour last time. The nice thing about the point boxes encouraging you to take all possible routes is that it means that when you are trying to sort of master each course, no two laps are even remotely alike. You have to do a little bit of planning to figure out which routes you can hit, on any given circuit. because there's always be ones that you have to pass up in favor of other ones. But it's just nice that not only are these shortcuts available, but the game wants you to make use of every single one of them in the course of a single race. And that leads to, you know, not the same old just going in circles. It's just an interesting take on racing that not a lot of games encourage, with going different ways every time you play it.
It's the final lap.
Yeah, so we're running up on 6 minutes for this course, and I'm just barely entering the third lap. Oh, no. Alright, that's okay. We'll go this way. We'll go off the ski jump. Oh! That was close. And I lost. I went from first to fourth by taking the ski jump. So not all shortcuts are actually shortcuts. They're just, you know, sort of alternate routes that you have to take if you want to get all the bonus points. And so sometimes you have to sort of plan for actually losing time by going different ways. But we'll try and sneak our way back into first before this race is over. We are on the easy difficulty right now. In terms of the game's progression, I would compare it most to like Wave Race, where there's 3 difficulties, and each time you finish a circuit on one difficulty, you begin another circuit with an extra track that wasn't on the previous one. So there is some repetition there. But again, it takes so long to actually figure out all the different ways you can go on a course that it's welcome. Second.
Second place. Record.
Do you remember what game it was, Bean? Alright, we'll do one more course, and then we'll move on to the last game of the night.
Inferno Isle.
Inferno Isle.
Get ready. 3, 2, 1, go!
It's sort of self-explanatory. Got a Jurassic Park little thing there. Complete with dinosaurs. Forgot about those. There's a shortcut right there. It's okay. We'll try and get another lap. Oh, that's not what I wanted to do. Here's the latter part of the shortcut. Here's basically, this area is a bunch of switchback turns, and you can just take a straight cut right through the middle of all of them. That's okay. I'm trying to think of N64 racing games with really, really good graphics. I know that Aero Gauge is widely considered one of the worst on the system. Sorry guys, 1 second. Okay. Each of these tracks are just like really unique and sort of colorful. Like, the game has a good sense of playfulness that maybe while it can't express that in its car selection, as you're limited to just varying degrees of Beetle-ness. There's a lot of character in the stages. It's not like unique or groundbreaking, but it's fun. Oh boy. There's just so much to see and do. You kind of have to spend a couple races just looking around and not trying to win. See that you know what all your options are later on. Oh, World Driver Championship. That was one of my most recent N64 pickups. I have not played it yet. I know that IGN loved it, but, you know, what does that mean? We didn't really get to see a lot of shortcuts on that lap. I'll try and dig a couple out here. Got locked up on the wall. Excuse me, isn't it improbable that we're all driving the same brand of car? Can't really see where I'm going. This shortcut doesn't look too good on my monitor. Oh boy. Out the way, homie. Oh boy. That was close. No, you have to like hop the curb to get up there. That's okay. Alright, one more lap. Go through the jungle this time. I could have jumped over the swamp hut. That's cool. That's cool. You live today, swamp hut person. I did not rudely drive my Volkswagen into your home. And I could have jumped to the left and landed on those ledges and grabbed those boxes. Yeah. We need to really immortalize this Beetle craze. This Beetle mania, if you will. That train. Again, I'm in first by a decent margin. And I've already spent 9 minutes on this course. Like, these tracks are much longer than your standard racing video games. I want to go this way. I'm a rebel, Mom. Oh, I don't want to be a rebel anymore. Bleh. It's time for our final lap detour around the mountain. Lava swallows the village. The successful Volkswagen driver escapes to victory. So, that's Beetle Adventure Racing. It's really just sort of a different sort of take on racing. The exploration elements are what make that game really fun and really worth playing compared to other racing games. Like, it's just a standard racing game. It's not super great. But as a sort of weird car exploration point collecting game that also is a race, It's pretty cool.
Congratulations.
The fourth track... Nope, there is no fourth track. So that was the novice course. Alright, one more game for the night, and as you guys know, I like to go a little long form. I like to do an RPG of some sort for the final game, each showcase. And there aren't a lot of RPGs on the N64. But probably the first game whose development I actually actively followed and anticipated and drooled and hungered over, and almost didn't come out. I watched this game get canceled like twice, and it honestly like hurt me on an internal personal level. But one of my favorite games of all time, and certainly the greatest RPG on the Nintendo 64, A Scythe knows, it's Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber. It's just a great strategy RPG. I have a lot of fond memories of playing this game in the wintertime with, like the wind whistling through the windows and like being snuggled under a blanket and working on these long, like the battles in this game are so long. Each battle is going to take you between like 30 to 75 minutes. Ogre Battle is sort of a different take on strategy RPGs from what many people have experienced, because it's very hands-off for the most part. You do your planning and before the battle, and you handle your troop movements. But the actual battles themselves are on a sort of forced auto battle. So it's all about the decisions you make going into the fight that dictate what your strengths and weaknesses are going to be. It is a very long, it is a very complex game. If I have a save file on here, and I'm pretty sure I do, I will actually be skipping the opening part of the game because it is intense. Character creation is simple. You answer a lot of sort of hypothetical questions. It's not like setting a bunch of stats and picking a class. But there is a lot to this game, and I want to actually like show you guys the meat and potatoes of it. Gorgeous soundtrack by, I want to say Hitoshi Sakamoto, but I don't think it is. Masaharu Iwata. Hitoshi Sakamoto did work on it, and Hayato Matsuo. It's a lot of remixes from Ogre Battle on the SNES and Tactics Ogre on the SNES and PS1 and whatnot. We'll go ahead and load Tips' save file up. He's not using it. So this is the map screen. This is where you choose where you're going to go next. Right now, I'm supposed to go to Dardanellis, the crossroads. But before I do that, we've got to go, do troop management and whatnot. So each one of these 3x3 squares, his army is called Penis Patrol. I forgot about that. Each one of these 3x3 squares represents a unit. You'll notice a yellow arrow pointing next to one of the members of each unit, and that is the unit's leader. That sort of characterizes what the unit's movement abilities are, what kind of things can go in the unit, whatnot, and so forth. Each of the different other things occupying spaces in each unit are the other supporting characters. So while on the map screen I may have 7 units that I can move around and explore with, each one of those is made up of as many as 5 other actual party members. And each one of them has stats and equipment and spells and attributes as far as movement and how many items they can hold. It's a deceptively simple game for how much it throws at you. The main thing to look at here is you'll see where it says cleave, cleave, and lightning. And those 3 symbols next to those tells you when this unit is in the front row, it will do a 12 damage cleave twice per battle. If it's in the middle row, it will do a 12 damage cleave once, and if it's in the back row, it will cast lightning for 9 damage twice. So those are you basically move your units around inside of this box to figure out what kind of attack you want them to have. You can change the class of any one of these characters, and they'll have different abilities and can equip different items. You can train units. You can capture enemy units and invite them into your cause. We'll just go ahead and go into the battle. The game's got a very long, drawn-out, sort of militaristic intrigue plot. It has, I believe, around 18 to 20 different endings, depending on not like how most games handle endings, where it's like, oh, well, the decision, at this point in the game, you were asked a yes or no question, and how you answered that question dictates what ending you got. There are a couple of those within the game, but there are other factors too, like how noble your unit is. Do they attack enemies head on, or do they try and flank them from behind? Do they capture happy cities that are happy with the enemy's rule just to take them over, or do they only liberate the oppressed? So the decisions you make in a battle also play into certain stats as to what classes you can take and what units you can recruit. It also reflects what happens in the ending. The plot is also very, very dense, and the Ogre Battle series never really told its story in order. The first game in the series is episode 5, and I think they also released episode 7, 4, and I think this is episode 3. It's either episode 3 or episode 6. How many times does a train unit cleave? Is that a joke? Is this like a math problem? I love the pre-rendered backgrounds in this game. I think they look, again, like if all N64 games looked like this, people would have a much better opinion of this system. Like, this game has aged very, very well because of the pre-rendered backgrounds and the sort of simple sprite work. The stylized sprite work looks very, very good. There aren't many RPGs in the system, and this one blows them all out of the water. It's an acquired taste because of the strategy elements and because of also the hands-off elements of the actual battling. But I've always been super fond of the Ogre Battle series. It's always been one of my personal favorite series of video games. And the basic premise of the levels is all more or less the same. Start at your base, capture towns so that you can heal units or do shopping, and take over the castle at the other side of the map where the boss is residing. Alright, end briefing. There aren't very many ogres. There are ogres in all of the games, and they're kind of a major plot point in the Ogre Battle series. But for the most part, it's just humans fighting each other, and then ogres eventually get involved. So our map starts. I recommend always pausing at the start of every fight, and we're going to dispatch our units. So these are our available units, and we want to send them to various places. You can have them lock onto towns, you can have them lock onto other units, and they'll just sort of chase those units down. This game is kind of a multitasker's dream because there's so much downtime between the initial phases of a game and the actual rest of the game. I need to pull the mini-map up here. There we go. Dio is not doing anything, I don't think. You can also set waypoints, so instead of having him cut over these mountains, I can have him go there first. And this is a new feature in Ogre Battle 64, which really fixes a lot of the problems of the first game. Then we'll unpause and we'll let this sort of play out. So now all my units are on the move, except for my main guy who's guarding the main stronghold so it does not get captured. And when two units meet, a fight ensues. Now, during the fight, everything plays out the way that you programmed it to in between the fight. Your members can team up and attack units together. If you have different kinds of magic users in the same party, they can actually combine their spells into larger or multi-class type spells. But for the most part, you just sort of let this happen. There's a couple things you can do to interrupt the action. You can see at the top of the screen I've got a bar filling up with 3 icons. The first icon allows me to, when my bar is full enough and that icon lights up, I can change what target my unit focuses on. So whether it's the leader, or the person with the most HP, or the person with the fewest HP, or to just sort of freestyle it. When the second one lights up, I can actually flee the battle. And when the third one lights up, which is usually only happens in like hard fights or boss fights, you can use a big summon to sort of clear the area. So there's some ogres for you, Ronnie. I muted myself. The nice thing about that being is that the amount of memory that those games take, the first one is always the biggest, and as long as you have one other game installed of that console on the virtual console, they take fewer space than they'll tell you on the download screen. It'll be like, oh, this game takes 400 blocks. But if you have another N64 or Neo Geo game installed, and you're installing another N64 or Neo Geo game, it will actually take fewer blocks than that. There is permadeath in this game to a certain degree. There are ways to revive characters. Sometimes in the process of reviving them, they will turn into undead, vampires, or skeletons, or what have you. So, much like a Fire Emblem game, you have to be very, very careful with what you allow your units to get involved in. So it's definitely an acquired taste, but it's all without question the best RPG for the system. And in terms of the music and the visuals, probably the closest that the system comes to a traditional RPG of the era. Aiden Chronicles is more a normal RPG that follows sort of the Quest 64 engine. Terrible music in that game. Not a big fan of that game at all. This is more my speed. This is what I think of when I think of great RPGs of the late 90s and early 2000s. Ogre Battle 64 is one of my favorites. I'm not trying very hard to win right now. Like, normally I'd be doing a lot more unit management before the battle, and also, you know, if that unit didn't fare well in its first fight, so I probably would have pulled it back as best I could. But this unit is about to die completely. That's fine. I'm just showing you guys the game. The magic effects have pretty cool visuals to accompany them. Like, the great thing about the way this game looks is that it does so much with so little. Like, it didn't really try to do anything super mind-blowing, and so they were able to polish what little they did to a point where it looks really good. And that kind of ties in with Mischief Makers, how we started the stream, where, you know, it's a 2D game. It's not taxing the N64 to its limits, but because it's taking something that it can do sort of in its sleep, which is 2D graphics, but using the system's power to render them and put frames of animation on them and different effects, it ends up looking really good. And so it's ultimately a giant missed opportunity for the N64 and also the PlayStation and Saturn to have had as few 2D games as they did. I think the Saturn really had the most, and that really plays into its popularity among collectors and aficionados of the system. It's just, it was willing to do what its competitors weren't. And unfortunately, that didn't work out for it from a commercial standpoint, but there's a lot of great-looking Saturn games that to this day still look great because it's just using advanced hardware to do what the Super Nintendo and the Genesis did, except much, much better. So that's Ogre Battle 64. And that is going to conclude our N64 showcase for the night. I hope you guys found some games that you didn't already know about that maybe you'll give a shot this weekend or the next time you're looking to try a new game. We played Mischief Makers, Doom 64, Ridge Racer 64, Tetrisphere, the Japanese version of Bomberman 64, Sin and Punishment, Rakuga Kids, Winback, Covert Operations, Beetle Adventure Racing, and Ogre Battle 64, Person of Lordly Caliber. Some of my favorite N64 games that aren't as involved or as well celebrated as things like Banjo-Kazooie or Donkey Kong 64, GoldenEye. There's some hidden stuff on the system, and we can come back at a later time and go even further deeper into the rabbit hole. But I have to find some anthropomorphic main character games, the 5 best and the 5 worst for next week. I hope you guys will join me for that. I'm going to go to bed probably, take some pills and rest up. I will try and stream tomorrow because I am not doing my normal fight night things so as to not get anyone else sick, because bronchitis is contagious if it is viral or bacterial, and I'm pretty sure mine is viral. Be sure to check these out on YouTube if you missed anything, or if you want to rewatch any parts. The only one that's been uploaded so far is the Nintendo one, but I will be doing the TurboGrafx one probably this weekend, and then the N64 one around Monday or Tuesday, hopefully. So, I want to thank you guys for watching. It's been a lot of fun having you here. I always love doing this for you guys. I will try and be on tomorrow to probably play something. Blake Stone? I don't know. That's really ugly. I'm going to pass you off to someone else as soon as this starts working properly, which it is not doing. It is hideous. And I don't know why. Alright, well, I was going to host someone else, but my Twitch is freaking out. So I don't know if I can. I did just start a new plugin, which is probably not helping things. Try one more time here. Alright. If Maurice is on, I don't think he is. Oh my god. Alright, I gotta turn this plug-in off.
Get your little bird out of here.
Sounds like Maurice is streaming. He's one of my new favorite streamers I discovered earlier this week. I like his channel a lot. He's playing fighting games tonight. So I'm going to pass you guys off to him. I'm going to turn off Ogre Battle. And I will give you guys some lizards. And we will see you soon. Thank you all for watching. We'll catch you next time.